So Roses of May is one of my absolute favorite songs from Final Fantasy IX. I pretty much love all of Final Fantasy IX's music. Like, I don't have like a favorite, but I saw today that they remixed Roses of May for Final Fantasy XIV. And so what I wanted to do is take a listen to the original really quickly and then compare it to how we hear the new version that I have not heard. So here's the original. Such a simple piece, just very simple piano. Beautiful melody over top in the right hand, upper register. Some ostinato, arpeggiations in the left hand. I just adore it. And I also, if you've never played Final Fantasy IX, boy, do I encourage you to do so. It's probably the best Final Fantasy. And yes, I am a professional Final Fantasy player, and so my opinion is very valid. I absolutely adore Final Fantasy IX. It's just such an incredible story. It's got so much heart, so much emotion in it. It's simple, it's complex, it's full of wonderful twists and turns. It's light, it's bright. It's deep. It's honestly one of the best stories I've ever played, and definitely one of the best games I've ever played in my entire life. But so today they posted a new version of it, Recollection Theme, Roses of May from Dawntrail, Final Fantasy XIV. I did not really care for Dawntrail's soundtrack, which is why it hasn't really featured on the channel. Now that being said, I'm very curious to hear what this sounds like. That little waltz, that's nice. Okay, so we're jumping into a phase 2 here. Okay, so it's hard. It's hard to I feel like the beginning of that, like this Roses of May, the original from Final Fantasy IX, has so much like gentleness in it because of where it is in the upper register, you know what I mean? So like I find obviously the contexts are different, so I'll give it that. It is definitely not the same. So obviously we have like bass and strings. I wish that Final Fantasy XIV had the budget to orchestrate this stuff. I'm starting to get a little bit it's not actually a comment on Soken's or the team's compositional skills, because I actually think that the compositional skills are really incredible, and Soken is such a natural sort of protege to carry the torch of Uematsu, and Uematsu is like a very important figure in my personal journey with music and life. So I think like Soken is an incredible composer. It's just I'm starting to get a little tired of hearing the MIDI thing. You know what I mean? Like the MIDI thing is it's starting to get tedious. Not to say that I can't pick up on the power and the, you know, the sort of oomph that provides, especially with the lower percussion and the brass. And also like it sounds like the trombones or the French horns are now leading the melody. It's hard as a purist of Final Fantasy IX, like, and that's the other question, like, you know, should these things be remastered? Should they be restored? Should they be remade? I don't know. I might be becoming an old curmudgeon. The more I get older, the more I'm like, don't touch the old stuff. Keep it safe. Keep it sacred. So I hear myself and I'm like, man, what a pain in the ass. But on the flip side, I do think it's cool because it's obviously like a boss theme. You know what I mean? Whereas like obviously Roses of May, I actually, if I recall correctly, we do fight Beatrix with Roses of May playing in the turn-based battle thing. So the piano is just so simple and so gentle. This one is just very bombastic. Now it's obviously a different context, so I'm gonna give it that. But it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard for me. I want to keep listening though, where we stopped. I like the flute flourishes back there actually quite a bit. From the dial back. I mean, it's good. It's well composed. The harpsichord's cool. It symbolizes royalty. The tension in the strings here is dope. Okay. Ba, 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 ba. And it's cool here too because this is obviously expanding on Roses of May. So like here it's kind of nice because the strings the strings take over and the chorus on top really leans into that idea of like desperation or like the dire quality of the fight. You know, and at this moment Zelenia, who is the character that has Roses of May playing, is saying, "I will suffer none to threaten Alexandria." Not dissimilarly to the way that Beatrix talks. I mean, obviously in the Final Fantasy IX, Beatrix, I don't want to spoil it for people that haven't played it because I think Final Fantasy IX is one of the greatest games of all time. And it's worth going into spoiler free, but you know, Beatrix works for Queen Brahm, and there's, you know, obviously there's twists and turns to that story, but so I feel like it's appropriate, and it really does showcase Beatrix is an incredibly strong knight. And the knight, probably the strongest knight of the Alexandrian forces. So it makes sense to have this music be in here. And I think it works quite well. It's really interesting. I don't hyperfixate on basically anything, but Final Fantasy IX is one game that I've played, God, so many times. I just played it last year in the fall again. I've probably played it 10 to 20 times in my entire life. I mean, I don't do that for any game really, but Final Fantasy IX is like, if there's one game I'm like super like obsessed with, it's definitely Final Fantasy IX. But yeah, anyway, that's cool. I like the chorus, and I think it kind of boosts her like power, you know? It's dope. I appreciate the chorus in there. Man, that's pretty sick, though. I don't know, that's okay. I like it because it's the strings. Da da ya da. Oh, her ultimate is like a rose. Roses of May. It's actually celebrating Final Fantasy IX. Man, I might have to re-download Final Fantasy XIV for this. Da, 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 da. I love the flourish back there, the flutes, man. Da, 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 da. It's so celebratory here, isn't it? And then it pulls back, and it's just a nice little gentle strings. So it begs the question, like, what would Uematsu-san have done if he had the availability? Well, that's not true. He did have the availability because he made Dancing Mad. He chose to make Roses of May sound like this. The simplicity of this theme really sends it home, the idea that this is I don't know, for whatever reason, isn't that funny? The less instruments we have, the easier it is to sort of pinpoint the three-dimensionality of the character. And I actually feel, in a lot of ways, like that does a much better job of showcasing the character of Beatrix. The complex beauty and, like, you know, forthrightness. There's a simplicity in the writing without all the extra oomph that I think we can pick up on different emotional cues for each one, so I don't think that one is better than the other, but my personal preference is definitely on Roses of May OG. Now, that being said, again, I mean, like, this part's pretty dope. There's a very celebratory kind of nature to it, isn't there? Yeah. I think the original, I think that there's quite nice pomp in the second one, and I think, like, given the context, I think that's also important too. But just on first listening, I think Roses of May original takes it for me. I'd love to know what you think. Let me know. See you later.